All right, so 7 and 8 are actually combined. They refer to the same information, so we're going to do these two problems together. So it says you buy $800 worth of furniture on a payment plan, and so we're not paying cash up front. So what we're doing is that we're paying it out over payments, and so in exchange what the business does is that for them allowing you to pay it out over time, they want to be compensated for that, so they charge interest, right? So anytime you borrow money, you have to pay interest, right? And that's just how they make money on allowing you to borrow the money. So $800, 17% interest rate. So what we're going to do is that and I'm just going to kind of start with a table, is that if I had a table, so at time 0, right, our stopwatch starts at 0, which is when we buy the furniture for $800, and then I want to know after 1 month how much would I owe them. Well, so the interest rate here is 17%. For the calculator, I need to write that as a decimal. So I need to write as a decimal. So 17%, I think about money, 17%, 17 cents. So 17% on 17 cents would be 0.17. So what I would do with the calculator is that I could type in 800 times 0.17. And what this does is it gives me the amount of the interest, $136. So this doesn't mean that I now owe only $136. That's how much additional I owe on top of what I paid for the furniture, $800. So to figure out my new total, I'd have to add in what I already paid, or what we got for the furniture, which was $800. Actually, an extra 0 there, so 136 plus 800 would be 936. Why we're doing an extra 0 there. So we'd get 936. Now, what I could do is that I could then keep repeating that if I want to know, okay, well, what about month 2? Because the question here says how much would you owe them after 4 months. So I could repeat this process of then saying 936 times 0.17, which gives me $159.12, and then plus 936 to get my new amount, which would be $1,095.12. But let me show you a shortcut, right? Because what ends up happening here is that you notice I have to figure out what the interest is and then add it to what I already owed. Well, there's a way of doing that all in one step, which is that if I take what I have, right? So I have 800 plus the percent. If I multiply it by 1.17, right? So let me take, and I'll start back from the beginning. So let's say 800 times 1.17. Well, you know that anything times 1 is just itself, right? So if I just did 800 times 1, that gives me the 800. The 0.17 is the new part, the interest, right? So what it does is that in one step, the calculator puts those two things together. So if I then multiply that by 1.17, I get the number that I got right here, 1095.12. So again, the 1 is there because you're multiplying, you're taking the part that was already there, and then the 0.17 part is the interest payment, or the new part. So if I did times 1.17, I get 1281. And since we're talking about money, since we're talking about cents, we'll just round. So 1281 and 29 cents. And then for the 4th month, I'd want to know how much we owe at that point. So I'll do times 1.17 again. And I get $14.99. And then what's the change on that? 11 cents. So my answer for this one, after 4 months, it would be $1,499.11. That was kind of the long way, though, because I kept having to type in times 0.17. So look what I did, times 0.17, times 0.17. So what we're looking for is we're looking for a shortcut. Well, so with the explicit is what tells us the shortcut. Remember, the recursive just tells you how it's changing. So all that we're doing here is that what we did is we multiplied by 1.17 each time. Now, what would be a shortcut? Well, take where you start, which in this case was 800, and we're multiplying by 1.17. And then how many times do we want to do that? Well, it depends upon how many months you want. So we'll do that to the n. Right? Because remember, we use exponents for repeated multiplication. So if I took my explicit rather, and I said 800 times 1.17 to the n, what I can do here is I said, well, what if it was for 4 months? So what I would do is I'd say f of 4, which would be 800 times 1.17 to the 4th power. Let me put that in the calculator. Let's see what we come up with. So if I typed in 800 times 1.17, and then how you do the exponents, the little raise the roof guy right there. So we'll do raise the roof, and we'll do it to the 4th power, and we get $14.99 and 11 cents, which is the same thing that we got right there. So, you know, same answer, it's just the shortcut, right? So the shortcut is write an explicit equation and then just plug in the number you need. Doing the table ends up being a little more work, but either way it works. All right, so and on the percent, make sure that you write it as a decimal first, right? So whatever the percent is, write it as a decimal, and then you can go from there. All right, so go ahead and stop the video here, and then try 7-8 on the right side, and then we are almost all done.